ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਇੱਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਵਾਰ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਭਗਵਤੀ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹੀ 10ਵੀਂ ਪ੍ਰਥਮ ਭਗਵਤੀ ਸਿਮਰਤ ਹੈ। ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਲਈ ਧਿਆਏ ਅੰਗਦ ਗੁਰੂ ਕੇ ਅਮਰਦਾਸ ਰਾਮਦਾਸੇ ਹੋਈ ਸਹਾਏ। ਅਰਜਨ ਹਰ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਨੂੰ ਸਿਮਰੋ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਹਰਿ ਰਾਏ। ਸ੍ਰੀ ਹਰਿ ਕ੍ਰਿਸ਼ਨ ਧਿਆਈਐ ਜਿਸ ਡਿਠੇ ਸਭ ਦੁਖ ਜਾਏ। ਤੇਗ ਬਹਾਦਰ ਸਿਮਰਿਏ ਕਰ ਨੌ ਨਿਧ ਆਵੇ ਧਾਏ। 10ਵੇਂ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਸਿੰਘ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਪੰਥ ਦੇ ਵਾਲੀ ਸਭ ਥਾਈਂ ਹੋ ਜੀ ਸਹਾਏ। ਦਸਾਂ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹੀਆਂ ਦੀ ਜੋਤ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਪਾਠ ਦਰਸ਼ਨ ਦੀਦਾਰ ਦਾ ਧਿਆਨ ਧਰ ਕੇ ਬੋਲਣਾ ਜੀ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਹੇ ਨਿਮਾਣਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਮਾਣ ਕਾਰਨ ਕਰਨ ਪਿਤਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀਓ। ਆਪ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਹਜ਼ੂਰ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਦੀ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਹੈ। ਦਤਾਰ ਪਿਤਾ ਜੀ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਦਾ ਓਟ ਆਸਰਾ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਗੁਰਮਤਿ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰਨ ਲੱਗੇ ਹਾਂ। ਸਰਬੱਤ ਦੇ ਸਿਰ ਤੇ ਮਿਹਰ ਭਰਿਆ ਹੱਥ ਰੱਖ ਕੇ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਦੀ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਆਪ ਕਰਵਾਉਣੀ। ਦਤਾਰ ਪਿਤਾ ਜੀ ਅੱਖਰ ਵਾਧਾ ਘਾਟਾ ਭੁੱਲ ਚੁੱਕ ਮਾਫ ਕਰਨੀ। ਸਰਬੱਤ ਦੇ ਕਾਰਜ ਰਾਸ ਕਰਨੇ। ਸਹੀ ਪਿਆਰੇ ਮਿਲਣੇ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਮਿਲੇ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਦਾ ਨਾਮ ਚਿਤਾਵੇ। ਨਾਨਕ ਨਾਮ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਤੇਰੇ ਬਾਣੇ ਸਰਬੱਤ ਦਾ ਭਲਾ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
All right, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Ravinder Singh, connecting from Columbus. Thank you for joining Khoj Gurbani for another discussion. We are going to focus on the 35th Pauri, I believe. I had to stop short last time, so I believe that we finished discussion on the 34th Pauri, which was Rati Ruti Tithi Var Pavan Pani Agni Patal. Had a very good discussion on that, and I think there was general agreement that we were now talking about the beginning of a journey towards that singular reality that's called Ikonkar, and that the 34th Pauri basically is the realm of action on Earth, I suppose, and that we are to begin here and move on. So today we'll carry this discussion on to the next sphere, the Gian Khand, so to speak. Before we do that, I would like somebody to volunteer to read the 35th Pauri as we always do. Any volunteers, or should I call out someone? There's no. Dilpreet Singh ji, do you want to read out the 35th Pauri?
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਜੀ। ਧਰਮ ਖੰਡ ਕਾ ਇਹੋ ਧਰਮ ਗਿਆਨ ਖੰਡ ਕਾ ਆਖੋ ਕਰਮ। ਕੇਤੇ ਪਵਨ ਪਾਣੀ ਵੈ ਸੰਤਰ ਕੇਤੇ ਤਾਨ ਮਹੇਸ਼। ਕੇਤੇ ਬਰਮੈ ਘਾੜਤ ਘੜੀਐ ਰੂਪ ਰੰਗ ਕੇ ਵੇਸ਼। ਕੇਤਿਆਂ ਕਰਮ ਭੂਮि ਮੇਰ ਕੇਤੇ ਕੇਤੇ ਧੂ ਉਪਦੇਸ਼। केते इंद चंद सूर केते केते मंडल देश। केते सिद्ध बुद्ध नाथ केते केते देवी वेद। केते देव दानव मुन केते केते रतन समुंद। केतियां खानी केतियां बाणी केते पात नरिंद। केतियां सुरती सेवक केते नानक अंत ना अंत। Thank you जी।
Thank you, Dilpreet Singh. So this is essentially Guru Nanak's description of Gian Khand, the region of knowledge, and interestingly enough, it is actually prefaced by a conclusion of previous Pauri which says Taram Khand ka eho taram, and then Guruji starts with Gyan Khand ka akho karam. Which really grammatically is an imperative from a grammatical point of view, suggesting that he's setting the mode of searching and questioning to the backdrop to the sphere of knowledge. I find that interesting that he is in fact linking action even with knowledge here, but we'll get into that. Eileen, do you want to actually start off this discussion on this Pauri?
Oh, you know, I made a mistake in preparing for today, and I prepared on the 36th Pauri, and so the 35th Pauri has a lot of words that I haven't looked up yet because they're just, it's a lot of nouns, so maybe I can pass for now and come back.
Okay. Paramjit Singh ji, Virji, would you want to kick off the discussion today?
Sure. Well, thank you very much, and Vaiguji Khalsa and Vaiguji Fateh to everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Uh, my understanding, because I was not here last week, but I did spend time going over the entire discussion. It was a very lively discussion. And my understanding has been the whole journey we are talking about in 440s is about our spirit. But unless we do these actions which have been talked about in the previous body, at our spiritual level, they cannot be manifested in physical level. So everything starts from there at our inner core, that unless our dharma is there inside us, our actions wouldn't be dharma. So in the previous body, we talked about all our physical actions, but they start in the spirit. Now in this body, my understanding, what I spent a little time on this one, is that Guru Sahib is now talking and giving us the knowledge about that spiritual domain which is out there and which we don't know. Kete pawan pani vechantar kete kan mahesh. That he is talking about something which is unknown to us. There's so many different versions. We say, yes, there's pawan there, there's air there, there's water there, there's fire there. But it is our very limited knowledge, but Guru Sahib is giving us a lot more knowledge. The reason my understanding is Guru Sahib is giving us this knowledge so we can develop that humility and humbleness in us, that we are a very small part of this whole universe, and whatever is happening there is what we talked about earlier was grace the galore. See, last time we were talking the grace, and Dilpreet Singh ji made a very good point at that time, and the whole thing is grace which is coming that he was talking about is a riddle. And I just want to relate that to this body here, that it is the riddle in the sense is just same like a chicken and egg story, where the chicken came first or egg came first, and we know the answer. It's just like whether we are born, how we are born is the process of evolution. And I think the grace is the first and is a very fundamental thing through which all the actions are taking place. And I believe that although we try to do our good actions, but I think grace is paramount there, and that's playing a lot of role. So in this story, my understanding is Guru Sahib is talking about Kete Indchan Surkete, they are talking about Ketya Karupumi Mer Kete Ketupdesh. He is giving us understanding about the vastness of this universe, which is beyond our understanding, and he is imparting the knowledge in us so that once we have the knowledge, we have better understanding of doing our actions, physical actions, and that is my general understanding of this body.
Thank you, Ji. Dilpreet Singh Ji, do you want to amplify or add on to your thoughts to what was just expressed? That here, knowledge of the vastness of creation through its diversity is being imparted to us with a view to developing humility. I think that's the word he used. So that, we understand that we are just a speck in this vast creation. So I just want to reach out to you to see if you want to add to this.
And I think it is very well said. As we discussed last time, in the previous body, Guruji is making us aware of our surroundings and environments and the systems and subsystems which are working around us, and within which subsystems we need to work and we need to take use or benefit of them. So in the previous body, the subsystems are explained, and now in this body, Guruji is saying that once we get the understanding of those subsystems, then knowledge.
Do you mind just educating us on what those subsystems? Because I was missing, and I think Eileen was missing, and Virji was missing. Would you mind just sort of quickly helping us with what these subsystems are?
And in the previous body, like karmi hoy, first Guruji is talking about the environment, that how these things are placed, that we have this circle of day and night, and then Pavan, Pani, Agni, Patal. So within this, we have a place which is a ground on which we are there, and then this which Ji Jugat ke Rang, that there are many different things which are placed in this, and then their names are different. Then the subsystems which I am talking here is Karmi Karmi Hoy Vichar, Sacha Aap Sacha Darbar, Tithe Sohan Panch Parvan, that Karmi Karmi means whatever we are doing, then as per that we will get the results. So and then kach pakaye uthe paye nanak gya jape jaye, that okay, the good and the bad, or those things. So those are the subsystems. This karmi karmi hoy vichar is telling us that whatever actions we are taking or whatever we are doing, and there are interdependencies, based on that we will get our results back. So moving on to this one now, the way I am relating this is, then Guruji is saying that of these subsystems also we will have some knowledge about those things now, and then Kete Paun Pani Vasantar Kete Kan mein is. So then he is also saying that don't limit your knowledge, or don't close it, or don't say that this is the final thing, that whatever we know or whatever we have learned is up to this point, and tomorrow we will learn more. So don't stop there, that there is no limit to the knowledge, there is no end to it. And then he is saying that as we explore more, then we will get that there are countless of these things, that there are many worlds or many places, many mountains. And then he's talking about that, okay, if you think that about good people like Bhagat, he's giving example of Dhruv Bhagat, that also it is countless. You cannot say that there was only one person who understood this or who got enlightened. And then Kete in Chansur, Kete Mandal, that there is no end to this. As we keep exploring, we will keep learning more and more, and then we will keep realizing that there is more to it. And so this is where he's saying that don't get stuck on one idea or on one concept, and towards the end, that is where he's molding us, that there are many concepts, so there are many beliefs.
Would you say then that in some senses this is simply an extension of the previous Pauri, because here also he's talking about the vastness of creation, although he's talking it through an expression of its physical nature, political structures, the elements, the planetary systems, which he starts to talk about in the previous Pauri as well.
Right. So yes, as this is the continuation, and then he's telling that there is, don't get stuck or don't get.
He's simply providing evidence of what creation is in many different ways. Because he lists out millions of Krishnas and Shivas and Brahmas and Siddhs and Buddhas and Naths and so on, and he talks about kings and elements. Now, I would like to throw out a thought here, and that is that when he begins this passage, he starts out with Gian Khand ka Aakho Karam. He's relating knowledge with action. And in the previous Pauri, Dharam is in fact related to moral choices, because Dharam is the domain. It's actually a complete culture, if you will. It is the domain of moral action. It's also the domain of law. So do you find that connection interesting, that he should talk about Gyan in terms of Karam, which is not something that we normally do?
Right, that is where I think Guruji is taking us, because in the next story he will tell us, I think that is where it is molding towards the thought that, okay, now we have to put these things into actions. And then here he is explaining the vastness, and he is saying that there is no one concept, even of Surti Sevak, and like, if you think that this is the only one person or one way of doing things, so he's saying no, there are many ways. But in the next one he will say, once we start putting things into action, that is where the real beauty is going to come out, and we will start understanding the real message. So I think in the next one he is putting us things into action, and then he is also explaining the outcomes of the action. It is taking us towards there.
I would actually suggest to you, no, you're absolutely right, but I would suggest that he is already beginning knowledge and action together. He's, I think, trying to suggest to us that action is not divorced from knowledge or social responsibility. Aisa gyan japo man mere hove chakar sache ke. In other words, you're not immune from action. This is not simply an intellectual exercise. So thank you. Good points there.
Can you just 1 second here, if you let me? Because you raised the line Gyan Khan ka Aakho Karam, I am confused with the word Aakho. How that is interpreted here? Aakho means you are asking somebody.
Yes.
So anybody can help me understand that, please?
So grammatically, it is an indirect question in the imperative form, which is a grammatical mood which is associated with either making a command or making a request. So akho, kisanu kehna ji akho.
Yeah.
Gyan khand ka akho karam. I think so. That's my sense. I'll let the others chime in.
Whom the request is being made?
It's a dialogue, a discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So, Hanji, anybody else want to add to that?
Can I intervene?
Hanji, please.
Here, I understand Akho is I describe. What I mean is, here I am in this body, in this stanza, Guru Sahib is telling that I am describing the level of this knowledge. What does it? What does it contain? What does it mean? Akho here means describe.
Well, I think there are different viewpoints on that, and if we have somebody who is an expert at grammar, I've heard the other explanation, which I just shared with you, that this is actually, from a strictly grammatical point of view, it is the term akho is in this verse is in the sort of imperative form, which is asking of a question or saying, tell us. So I don't know. I mean, you could be right, but that's what I have sort of heard. Somebody on the forum who can clarify. Let me reach out to Gurjeet Singh Virji then in Australia. Virji, you've been privy to the entire conversation, so I will just reach out to you to offer your thoughts.
वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह जी ये जो what you're saying about आँखों is a second form of the verb तुसी आँखो. Maybe that it should be when even Sahib see do his he says hun gyan khand da kartab bhi samjh lavo. He hasn't clarified the word आँखों there. It could be that it should be with an uda आँखों karam मैं दस रहा क्योंकि he's the one who has started from originally, the Japji Sahib is coming through him. So someone else can go in detail. But
in any event, I mean, I don't think that it's going to fundamentally change or alter the discussion.
No, it won't. It should basically be that it's being said through Guru Nanak.
Hanji.
And it's basically starts from 2-3 pauris before when he says, Ekam ai jugti vyai tin chele parvan. This is now chele coming. How many cheles? No one knows. It was not 3, I indicated that time, because now there is kitte. If there was 3, then the whole body is in contradiction to the other. So what he says, let me see, because the whole thing started from previous body. Taramsal, we have been given a Taramsal, which is a Chetan, our Hirda. That's where we have to start sowing the seed of the Taram. So Taram we described last time that it is just flushing all the Param out of our mind. This is the, we did it in the last discussion. So, because karmi hoye vichar, those who are in the karmi section, they will be asked a question because they haven't understood Gurmat. This basically rejects all those shastras and simritis, this body, because they have told us there is only one Krishna, there is one Ram, he was born there, this and that has been outrightly rejected. That every Jeev has in him a Brahma, Everyone has, whether you call him Khan. Khan is also said for like Jeth, Har Jeth Judinda Lodiye. The elder is known as Khan. There's a group of Khan and Krishna within us. So Khan and Mahesh, and they are sentient, referred to as same elements, Brahma. How they do it? Every Brahma has been asked to compose his own body under the hukum of Par Brahm. The Brahma is composing his own body under the hukum of Par Brahm. So this is what he wants to say, that there is not only one, everyone has got this. Basically, all these, either you say him Khan, or you say him Mahesh, or you say him Brahma, is just, but there is a hymn by Bhagat Kabir ji. He says, Jin gad gadya so gad mein pava. Gad is the outside fort. The one who has constructed this fort, I found him within the fort. So this is our Brahm, what Kabir ji refers. And then he says, Ketya Karam Bhumi. Then he goes to an outside world. That there is not only on this earth, but there are lots of bhumis where everyone has been given this. Mer Kete. Mer is your body. And not only Mer Kete, Kete Tu Upadesh. You can either say it through or tu, both will make sense, because tu is to bring your mind back to Hirda. Tuna, khichna. Thodi surat nu khich ke hirde ch leona is tu. Otherwise, if you say through, it's good enough, because through is a general word used for Gurmukh. And then he says, Kete, and within that sort of universe, there will be a lot of moons, lot of skies, and there, there's a creation outside this, our creation, where there are bodies. They also have a similar system, that there is a Jot and there is a Jat. They may have a different water than us, they may have a different air than us, but there are lives over there. Kete Mandal Desh. And on those, they have Ketya, Siddh, Buddh, Nath, Kete. All these are the different forms of Brahm. Someone says Nath, someone says Buddha, someone Kete Devi Vesh, and they have different sorts of mats, different sorts of faiths. Then he says further, Kete Dev Danav, wherever there is a Dev, there are also Danavs. Those Tarkshil sort of people who says, show me God. And I just read a joke yesterday, a kid says, okay, show me your brain. So then they got defeated. So there are Danav and Dev, Muni Kete, Kete Ratan Samund. Muni be, they are also trying to find the truth. Ratan Samund is also a sort of knowledge out of a whole ocean of Sachkhand, if you can find something. Then he further says Ketya Khani. Because they are different earths, they are different universes, there are different sorts of way that jeeves are being produced, and different banis. Their voices might be different to ours. Kete Pat Narind, and there are people being ruled by these Narind, but who they are absorbed in Maya. Ketya Surti Sevak Kete. Everywhere there is a Surti, and there are heaps of Sevaks. There is no limit. He has basically broken the shackle of one Ram, one Brahma, one whatever, one. He has gone.
Hanji, thank you. Ji. Thank you. I think basically what you're driving at, what we've all sort of driven at, is, if I were to put it in a nutshell, he's basically expressing the infinite vastness of creation by bringing out all of these different spheres of existence, whether it is physical nature, whether it is the elements, whether it is planetary systems, what have you. I think what is being driven home here is that creation is infinitely vast, and it has all of these, as Dilpreet uses the word, systems and subsystems around us. So my question for the second round is, this knowledge, Gian, is this intellectual knowledge that we apprehend through the senses, or is this another mode of knowing or understanding? So I'm going to reach out to Dilpreet again. Gurdeep Singh Veji, I forgot you for an instant there. Do you want to actually have your say?
Can I seek clarification, please?
Anji.
Gurjeet Veerji,
Anji.
could you explain, because you went into a lot of detail, Kete Dev Danav, what are these Danavs? What are these Devs? What are their qualities? Differentiate? Are they among us, or where are they?
Hanji, they are always among us. Devs are people who actually read the grunts and try to tell it further. Danavs are the people who will oppose them because they lack knowledge. Devs are the people.
I think we lost him.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, Danav. Hanji, can you hear me?
Yes.
So Dev and Danavs is a class of people always goes on in religions, which ask questions.
So Virji, can I interject here and can I put it in somewhat simpler terms? I think it's referring to people with different mindsets and behavior patterns. And we are all, with different mindsets. I mean, some better endowed than the others. I shouldn't even use the word better, but differently endowed.
Hanji, the Danavs will always challenge the Devs to prove the truth. And there is always a basically a sort of contradiction between their ideas. So that's how I will take it.
And we see that contradiction around us in daily life. I mean, my attempt here is to relate it to everyday living. So if I were to take this, I would understand it to mean that there are people with different mindsets, different viewpoints. Devs are people whose thinking is a little more refined than the Danavs, if you would think about it that way. And the fact of the matter is that you see that all around you. Even today, I mean, you just see it every day. You deal with it.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. Someone asked a question on. He says, why in Hindu religion cow dung is that important, but why not the bull dung is that important? So this is Danav asking a question. He says, why? Because they are both animals. Why is one more important than other? So if the Dev knows the answer, he will give it. Otherwise, if he has preached in the wrong way, he is stuck.
Does anyone want to add to this question?
My only, I just playing a devil's advocate just for my own clarification.
Yeah, we don't want to digress too much.
Yes. Then what Devs are doing in this world, you see, a world of which is considered to be, we are talking about Dharam Khan, Gian Khan, Sachkhand, we are going towards that. So Devs are still lacking here. They have not been enlightened enough to be out of this world and be merged with a corporate, or they are still lacking a lot.
So why is a merger imply out of this world? You just said merging with a Kalpurk and being out of this world. Why would that follow? Why does it follow that merger with a Kalpurk means being out of this world? Why isn't it here and now, as Guru Nanak is trying to tell us right in these 40s?
Yeah, my thought on that one is we talked about...
And I might also add that Jin Manaste Devte Kiye. So it is within us to become those Devs. And the Guru is, the Gurmat is what is going to make you that. And I get the sense that Guru Nanak is emphasizing very much social accountability, social responsibility, living in the world, not being out of it.
But then there's also, is Dehi ko Lochen Dev? No, that means Devs are not here. This Dehi ko Lochen, I have Krishna, but there's a line there. So that
it just to me, I mean, I don't want to get into a discussion, but to me that simply means that the body, the apparatus of a body is invaluable, and that this is something that is very desirous, because it is in this dehi that Gobind Milan ki bariya can happen. So it is badi keemti cheez hai. That's how I see it. I mean, I want to just use it in very general terms. That's what it really means. So let me go to Gurdeep Singh Virji. I know that you wanted to say something.
Virji, whenever we are discussing this, stanzas or bodies, this set of stanzas or bodies, I think my point is that the Khand word, that is the central. Khand means levels. I mean, this is the description of levels or the zones. And the central, another point is that is Surt or consciousness or whatever it is. And if we keep these two words in mind while discussing these four bodies, so these are the description of levels, and the Surt, whether Surt is in which level, and whether it is Dharam Khand or Gyan Khand. And when the Surt comes in Saram Khand, then it comes in shaping the Surt or in molding the Surt.
But we are right now in Gyan Khand.
Right.
Yeah.
So in Gyan Khand, when we are, when Guru Sahib is describing this zone, and so this zone or level of Surat, that means the Surat comes into this consciousness. The idea is not to describe to the world that there are so many, Pawan, Pani, Vasantar there. Idea is to describe the level. So where the Surt gets the knowledge of this, when the Surt gets this knowledge, then it is at that level. So whenever we are discussing, actually we start, what I get this impression that we start describing this as Guru Sahib is describing. I mean, these things are a description of understanding of the Surt. Whether if the Surt comes to this understanding, the vastness of the world Surt has understood, then there are so many people in this world, they might not be, their consciousness might not be in this level. There will be so many people in the world. And
granted. So what's the point?
So the aim of Guru Sahib is not to spread knowledge of so many galaxies. The aim is to describe the level. That's what I point to.
Yeah, no. That I think we've talked about that. I mean, he's simply using the metaphors here, the similes here, to describe, as you said, the vastness of creation, which again, in matters of consciousness, is a feeling. If you can experience this feeling of vastness, then it leads to a certain experience. So what you're saying is, I think we've talked a little bit about that. Does anybody else want to chime in to what Guruji has just said? Any takers? So let me ask a question, a follow-up question to you, Gurdeep Singh Veji. You talked about Khand being, zones or spheres or regions, and you also talked about the fact that these are perhaps regions of consciousness. So would it be accurate to call these different psychological states of the mind? Because that's where consciousness resides. One, and two, are these regions a continuum, or is there an actual break between them? So you could be functioning in all four regions at the same time, going back and forth. I just want to throw this question out there for anyone who wants to take it. Gurdeep Singh Veji, why don't we start with you?
My understanding is we can be sometimes in that level. Sometimes the Surt can be in this level, and sometimes it can be in that level. Because kabhu ziyara ub charat hai, kabhu jaye payale, lobi ziyara thirna rahat hai, chare kunda pale. So, but so these levels for the Surt can be existing all the time. But I mean,
yes. Okay. Thank you. Anybody else want to comment on this? Dilpreet Singh, do you have a view on this?
Right. These are, I think, Dharam Khand, these are different regions, but I think by regions, Guruji is saying that...
Are they physical regions?
No, that these are the different theories of kind of thing. There is no physical reason. I am not... That's where I'm struggling with the word. That it is not a physical region, and I don't think that it is that our consciousness sometimes in situation A or situation B, he is making us aware of our surroundings.
No, that
and
was
then
my question. That was my question.
right.
Could you be in various places? That was not what he's saying. That was something I threw out.
Okay, right. I don't
Just
think
playing devil's advocate.
right. I don't think it is that he's making us aware of the surroundings first, and then he's saying that once you try to learn things, then you will start exploring, and there is no end to explorations. As we explore more, we will learn more. I am getting that kind of message in this one.
Hanji, thank you, Ji. Hanji, Gurjeet Singh Veer Ji. Paramjit Singh Ji Rana, let me go to you first. Then I'll come to Gurjeet Singh.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
No, you asked 3 questions, and let me try to address based on my limited thinking. The first thing, my feeling is they are talking about our consciousness. This is journey of our spirit consciousness, which goes from one khand, one level to the next level, and this is a progression. Yes, a person could be a Dharam Khand. I don't think he would have any knowledge of Gyan Khand or Sharam Khand. But a person who is in Sharam Khand would have the knowledge of Gyan Khand and Dharam Khand, other way around. So it is a progress, it is a path our consciousness has to take. And then these things over here, Kete, Pound, Pandi, Vasanta, these are not metaphors. Guru Sahib is taking his intuition very high and telling us what is out there, which our human intuition, intellect cannot imagine. So I wouldn't say or challenge that these are the metaphors. I will take these as the true implications of what Guru Sahib is talking about, the physical world outside, the vastness of that world. That's my understanding.
Thank you, Vijay. You make an excellent point, and I have to say that you use the word intuition, and I was hoping that somebody would use that word, because I asked the question, is this intellectual knowledge? And I seem to agree with you that this is not just intellectual knowledge, this is a whole spectrum, and he is indeed talking about deeper levels of knowledge than just what is available through our intellect. Hanji, Gurjeet Singh Veer Ji.
I've just got a job. एक मिनट में पूछ लूँगा उन्हें कितने जाना.
Hanji, okay, we can
where
come
are we
back
going?
to you.
To the valley.
Hanji, Harvinder Singh Ji, in the meantime.
Start.
Acha, Hanji, okay.
Yep, I think Raji has really, Paramjit Rana has really explained nicely. So, ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ 10ਵੀਂ ਪੜ੍ਹਿਆ ਨਾ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ 12ਵੀਂ ਦੀ knowledge ਪਤਾ, but 12ਵੀਂ ਵਾਲੇ ਨੂੰ 10ਵੀਂ ਦਾ ਪਤਾ. That's very right way to say it, that if you are in Dharam Khand, you don't know what is in Gyan Khand. But if you are in Gyan Khand, you know what is in Dharam Khand. So this is how it's levels of knowledge.
Right.
So, but Gyan Khand is such a situation, it's the hardest one. Because you have to hear that Naad, Tithe Naad Vinod Kodanand. This is the highest point of achievement if we can. Because we lack Gyan, and our whole religion is based on Gyan.
Can I ask a question?
Hanji.
So when we have the aspect of levels, I've been trying to find that to explore it for myself, and I don't see it. I don't see it in the as I read. I can't wrap my head around that as a progression. Like, why do you need to progress in that way? I guess I'm thinking of it maybe as like more like spokes on a wheel, but and different sort of pathways in to the same intuitive place or the same consciousness, awareness of the creator or something. There's different pathways in, but I'm not understanding the progression. I guess I'm also thinking more maybe like I'm remembering earlier the other Pauris, the you know, like sunye, manye aspects, qualities, and these realms that are sort of governed by the qualities. Maybe someone can just highlight where do you see that? What are the indications in here?
Can I just take a couple of seconds to give you my thought on that?
Sure.
It is just a habit. We have become accustomed to thinking in terms of accomplishment in terms of going from point A to point B. And I think what you're suggesting is that we're already there. It's a question of entrance and an entryway. So all of these different khands, as they're called, or spheres, are in fact available to us. We may not have knowledge of them. So it's a matter of awakening wherever you are. So I think it is just a matter of linguistics. We're just using language to describe it as a progression or a journey or a move up. Somehow, it's always a move from down to up rather than up to down. So to me, it's no more than convention that we have used in the past. That's my sense. But I'll open that up. Hanji Paramjit Singh Ji, do you want to comment on that?
Yes, so my understanding of whole Japji Sahib is because the enlightened people, whosoever, they have been calling it Pauris. When we talk about the Pauris, these are the staircase to going up somewhere. It gives a direction. So you cannot go to step number 24 and then come back and say, let's go to step 2. I think it has been logically arranged. Japji Sahib is so fabulous. If you read it from beginning to end, Suniye, Maniye, when you read these things, you cannot follow something unless you have listened to that thing. Very, very simple thing. If you tell me that I have to do this thing, I have to listen to you first before I do something. So my understanding is this whole Japji Sahib is arranged in that order. So especially here when we come here, and I feel that this is a sequence we have to go, and this is a sequence we follow. This is how our consciousness develops over time. First we try to do action, and then what says the actions are you are doing it, but you don't have knowledge because we are talking spiritual actions. We are talking the material action, the worldly action. We are talking spiritual level. At that level, these actions knowledge will come over time. So my feeling is that. Anyway.
Hanji, thank you, Ji. Hanji Dilpreet Singh Ji.
See, I have been struggling with this. Here is where I am stuck. Okay, I will open it up. I take these things as different concepts, and when I say concepts, means that there is a bigger riddle, and then these are the smaller portions of the riddle. But where my thought process is stuck is now, or I am believing in, is that you cannot solve one section of the riddle without the understanding of the surrounding sections of that riddle. So it is completeness will come, and it is not that the logical progression or something, but it is surroundings, dependent things are there, and everything will get resolved at once. We cannot say that this person understood this side of the story and then still he was doing these other things. That is not possible. It is so intertwined and interrelated with each other that all of these concepts slowly will open up, and finally everything, the whole riddle will open up.
Hanji, thank you. Hanji Gurdeep Singh Veer Ji.
Now, these questions itself are revealing, and the same thing, when we discuss these things, then otherwise we keep forming some concepts in mind and go on following those concepts. But when these questions are raised, then when these intriguing questions are raised. Earlier also I was having this Japji Sahib as bodies and steps and what Paramjit Singh Ji was telling. But now once Dilpreet Singh Ji has explained when you have asked this question to my mind, then I started searching in my mind itself. Yes, whether this can be steps or this can be zones. Zones can be at horizontal level also, and they can be intertwined also. And when Surut can enter sometime this zone, sometime that zone, and they are all interrelated and very. I mean, Dilpreet has very rightly told that the riddle will be solved at once. Suddenly perhaps with that grace or whatever it is, because the mind is always and the other point which I want to talk is that Suniye and Maniye may not be really the steps, because Manana can come even by vision also. If you see some Gurmukhs and they are practicing Taram, and it is not necessary that you first listen and then you may start following the practice. I mean, of doing taram just by vision also. So they are somehow called steps, Paudia, conventionally, but certainly now I am struggling in my mind itself whether it could be zones or horizontal level or it could be steps.
Hanji, thank you, Virji. I think what you have said is central to the whole exercise that we here in Khoj Gurbani are going through. The whole idea that we need to sit and come together and question, and that includes questioning our own deepest held assumptions. So I'm very glad to hear you say that you're now beginning to question. Just as, when I hear you folks in my mind as I'm hearing you, I'm questioning a lot of the things that I have held to be conventionally true or true to me, and I'm sure each one of us is doing that. So it's lovely to hear that. And Eileen, I thank you for bringing that up. All right, thank you. We have less than 4 minutes
Hanji,
left. I want to...
can I make the final one?
Okay, you've got less than a minute for your final
Yeah,
thought.
I just want to first thanks Alian for a very good question, and Dalpreet Virji made it very clear that and I totally agree with him that these are very large concepts. But issue here is if we understand the concept to the fullest extent, then there's no order in these 36 bodies or 34, whatever we're talking about. But we have not arrived at that state. If Guru Granth Sahib puri knowledge hai, then in that case there wouldn't be any order. But the stage we are at, this is the only process of learning from one step to the second step, and that's my thinking.
Thank you, Ji. So I could argue that these are not even concepts at the end of the day, and two, nobody knows where anybody sits except the person himself or herself in all of this process. But final thoughts, Eileen, do you have any final comments on what you heard today?
No, thanks. I think I'm going to think about it some more. I appreciate everyone's comments.
Okay, very good. Dilpreet Singh Ji, any final comments before we close?
It is very good, and it is opening new thoughts and starting new questions in my mind. So it is good. Thank you.
Excellent. Hanji, Gurdeep Singh Veer Ji.
It's good.
Okay, Ji. Hanji, Gurdeep Singh Veer Ji, any final thought?
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਦੇਖੋ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਲਾਸਟ ਸ਼ਲੋਕ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਉੱਥੇ ਜਿੰਨੀ ਨਾਮ ਤੇ ਆਇਆ you can't enter these khands anywhere. There's always a word Gian, Dhyan. Until you have a Gian, you forget about the Dhyan. And that's what yogis were doing. So you can't say that you can enter any of these like this. Gian has to be important part, then next. So you can't go that you go to Sharam Khand and come to Gyan Khand. No, that's not possible.
Thank you, Ji. Have I missed
I can
anybody?
say something.
Hanji, please go ahead.
This is where I am getting lost, that we learn something, we implement something, and while implementing we learn something more, then we will implement it differently. And because it is a continuous cycle, like an iterative approach back and forth, so one will give birth to another and another will give birth to the other one. So that is where it is back and forth. It is not that we will learn everything and then only we can start implementing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe Dilpreet, it is circular.
Right, circular iterative approach that we go into circle.
Absolutely, absolutely. Haji Thike Ji, we are now running out of time, and I want to thank each one of you from the bottom of my heart, literally. I think we are having some wonderful discussions, arousing a lot of questions in everybody's minds, me included. And I would recommend to each one of you that we mull on these questions in the coming days, and then we will reconverge next time. And then I don't know where we are going to start, but we will just play it by ear. Hopefully, we'll be able to progress to the next Pauri. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.